Subaru was a skilled swordsman who became a hero and defeated the Demon King, but in doing so, he lost everyone he loved. But when a mysterious crystal hurls him 4 years into the past, he seizes the chance to train harder than ever, determined to become the strongest and rewrite his tragic fate. In this world, there are several races. Those blessed by the gods of light are humans, elves, and dwarves, while those blessed by darkness are the demons. These two factions divided the vast continent of Londres into east and west, waging a war for thousands of years until 300 years ago when a more prudent Demon King took command and the situation calmed, letting both sides grow used to a fleeting peace. However, in the 5th month of the year 28 and 26 of Genesis, the new Demon King ordered a massive attack known as the Great Invasion, shattering that fragile peace. The ruthless demon offensive spared nothing, and countless humanoid nations fell in the blink of an eye. And by the 4th month of the year 2827, the mighty Gargan Empire, the greatest humanoid military force, was defeated. In desperation, the humanoids gathered the remaining survivors to launch a final assault, break through enemy lines, and infiltrate the fortress to kill the Demon King, for this was their last hope. A group of heroes pushed deep into the fortress, but when demons appeared, the blonde warrior Theron stayed behind to hold them off, while Subaru reluctantly pressed on toward the throne room. After taking a power booster, they entered to find the chamber empty except for a strange magical object. As Subaru approached, his ally warned him of an attack from above. He swung his sword, blocking multiple blows, but one still landed on his foot. Just as the fatal strike came, Urza stepped in, activating her shield to block it, but the attack shattered the shield and disintegrated her. A masked, winged figure descended, unleashing a barrage of projectiles. Enraged, Subaru charged, dodging and destroying the spheres, closing the distance, but his blade was repelled by a shield around the Demon King. The king unleashed more energy spheres, forcing Subaru to hide behind a pillar, but then used the same deadly power that killed Urza to flush him out, firing relentlessly until one sphere struck his arm. He asked his sword what it was, and it replied it was Elimination, a high-tier, unstoppable spell that destroys everything. Realizing he was finished if this continued, Subaru knew he had no choice but to unleash the jewel's power, and the sword vowed to follow him until the very end. And so he unleashed all his power, becoming immune to the spheres of darkness as he closed in on the Demon King, piercing him through, and as a result his sword shattered. The Demon King fell dead, and with no strength left, collapsed to the ground. And as the only survivor, Subaru could only hope to reunite with all his loved ones. But then a purple light woke him, and seeing it was the magical object, he sensed that if its magic went out of control, it could destroy everything. So using the last of his strength, he rose and crawled toward it, finally managing to reach it. When he grasped it, a magic circle activated and everything was bathed in light. And then we saw a butterfly forcing itself onto a flower. And after that, Subaru awoke in his bedroom, believing it impossible that he had returned to the past. He got up, and when he opened the curtains, he saw the entire city intact, and he began to cry, thinking it must be a dream. Just then, a red-haired girl named Liz entered his room, and upon seeing she was alive, Subaru embraced her, and thinking he was dreaming, went too far and pushed her down on the bed. Embarrassed, she pushed him away and punched him, shouting what was wrong with him, saying he first had to prepare for those kinds of things, and with that, she left. Alone, Subaru realized he felt pain, which meant this was not a dream, and when he lifted the blanket, he saw the same red stone. Not understanding what was happening, he looked in the mirror and found none of the fatal wounds on his body and saw that he had become younger, and even the village had returned to normal, as if he had truly gone back to the past. Taking out the magic stone, he wondered if it had something to do with it, and then he felt hungry, so he went to the dining room, and seeing so much food, he began eating everything. After a while, Theron appeared looking for something to eat, but found nothing, and Subaru asked him the exact date. Confused, Theron replied that today was the 24th day of the 5th month of the year 2823, and Subaru grew agitated, unable to believe it, but Theron confirmed the date, and then remembered it was also his birthday, suggesting he consider that feast his gift before leaving to beg Liz to make more food. Left alone, knowing he had traveled to the past, Subaru decided he had no choice but to ask a certain person about the matter, so he went to a room full of books, and as he went down the stairs, he saw that his mother was alive too. Overjoyed to see her, he told her he had come to ask about magic, sat down, and asked if there was magic to go back to the past. His mother replied that it existed, and though little known, there was magic that could manipulate time, but it only existed in theory, since no one could use it because it required an enormous amount of magical power. Subaru asked if it could be possible with a magic object, and she confirmed it could be used as a catalyst, but even so, it would be impossible for a single person, as it would take thousands of years to gather that much power. He then asked if it could be done with a forbidden ritual, and she said yes, but explained it was a ritual that sacrificed lives in exchange for magical power, though even then it would be implausible as half the continent would need to be sacrificed, and that the only object capable of containing so much power was the legendary heart of the divine dragon. Subaru told how an ancient magical kingdom called Zolas once possessed the heart of the divine dragon, and because of its immense power, the kingdom prospered for over 1,000 years. But over time, its magic was depleted, leading to the kingdom's downfall, and since then, that object capable of storing enough magic to return to the past had been missing for over 1,000 years. His mother guessed that perhaps the demons had taken it, and after finishing the story, she told him she was happy they could talk after so long. Ever since Subaru had stopped training with the sword, he had been avoiding her, which was wrong. Subaru apologized, saying it was never his intention, and she reassured him, teasing that he seemed more mature than usual, almost as if he had returned from the future, then quickly changed the subject, and feeling hungry, thought of going to eat what Liz had prepared. But Subaru apologized again, admitting he had eaten it all. His mother said it was no problem, and remembering it was his birthday, suggested he take that breakfast as his gift. In the afternoon, sitting and looking at the village, he took out the heart of the dragon and wondered to himself what the Demon King was trying to make amends for. Liz arrived, so Subaru took the chance to apologize, saying he had been confused because he had dreamed she died, and Liz decided to forgive him, understanding his reason and because it was his birthday. Subaru remembered that in his reality, because his village was the closest to the Demon Kingdom, it was the first to be destroyed in the Great Invasion, and that day, after seeing Liz die, he swore vengeance. Liz called out to him, and seeing him a little lost, asked if he was okay, and he reassured her, saying nothing was wrong, though in his mind he told himself that this peace they now had would end in 3 years, and if he did nothing, he would lose everyone he loved again. So standing up, he declared aloud that he would change the grim future awaiting this world, that no matter what happened, he would achieve it no matter the cost, and later that night, he was found writing down everything he remembered in a book. At the end, Subaru wondered what he should do now that he had returned 4 years into the past, knowing full well no one would believe him, so he assumed he would have to defeat the Demon King alone. Although he knew it was impossible, in the end, he took up his sword and decided to try. The next morning, we saw him preparing to train, picturing as his opponent the Demon King of the future, and so he began dodging and deflecting attacks, but even in his imagination he took a hit, realizing he lacked practice with both magic and sword. Deciding to power himself up, he noticed his spells were more effective and wondered if he now had more magic power, then charged at the Demon King, dodging attack after attack until one hit him square in the face, knocking him to the ground. And lying there, he thought his magic power was greater, but his body still couldn't keep up. Liz and Zeron watched him, puzzled at what was going on, since just days ago he and Zeron had spent an entire day locked in a staring duel. Then a red-haired woman named Layla, Zeron's mother, appeared and asked what kind of monster he was fighting and what was wrong with Subaru, and Liz replied they had been discussing that as he seemed completely different from just 2 days ago. The woman said there could only be one explanation, a woman, to which Zeron cursed him for getting ahead, while Liz grew jealous, and Subaru, thinking about his sudden progress, was suddenly grabbed by his clothes as Layla, glaring at him with contempt, demanded to know who he was harassing, and after multiple shakes he vomited and fainted. Later, calmer, Liz prepared a grand feast to make up for earlier, and with everyone gathered, Subaru asked what kind of person could influence the fate of his country and others, making them think before answering that it could be a king, the high priests of the Divine Mother Kairis, or the hero Randolph, who had defeated the Demon King 300 years ago. This set Subaru thinking, and knowing he had only 3 years. He decided he would become a hero, standing from the table without a word, but repeating in his mind that he must become one, which confused the others further, though they chose not to act and only to keep an eye on him. That night, Subaru was seen reading several books, grateful for his good memory since it allowed him to recall what was going to happen. And then Zeron entered, surprised to see him reading, and asked if he really wanted to become a hero that badly. Subaru confirmed and added that the sooner the better, but Zeron reminded him being a hero wasn't easy, and Subaru knew that, which was why he was thinking of how to achieve it. His friend suggested defeating the Demon King, but Subaru knew it wasn't that simple and began asking himself what was needed to become a hero. Zeron answered that money was also vital, because while heroes helped others selflessly, going on adventures wasn't free. They needed contacts, since if important people gave him special treatment, he could make a name for himself. However, that alone wasn't enough. He also needed luck, not just any luck, but the kind to cross paths with others' misfortunes, because if he solved them, he could become a hero. This worried Zerone, but Subaru quickly clarified that he wouldn't create problems just to solve them, though he would do everything in his power, even if it meant playing dirty. This left a bad taste in Zerone's mouth, so he asked why Subaru was in such a rush to become a hero, knowing he had a goal in mind. Subaru admitted he was right, but only said Zerone would have to trust him, and seeing his determination, Zerone agreed to support him, but left for now. Subaru kept thinking of ways to earn money and gather allies, and the next day told Layla he planned to travel. She understood, but asked if he had told Zoraya, and Subaru confirmed, saying she cried upon hearing it. Layla had suspected she would react that way and asked about Laurer, but Subaru didn't know who she meant, so she suggested he take Zarin along on the trip. Subaru thanked her, as it was already his intention to bring his friend, planning to use him as a human shield or even a scapegoat. Later, when he told Liz, she grew a little sad and asked where he would go, and Subaru said he would first travel to the royal capital of Malat to gather everything necessary before starting the real journey. Liz wanted to say something, but Subaru cut her off, telling her she couldn't come. She questioned this, pointing out that she also trained with the wise warriors and wouldn't be a burden, but Subaru refused, saying his mother wouldn't want her in danger, and promised with a kiss that when he returned, she would be the first to know. She protested it wasn't fair, as now she had no words, but still asked him to be sure to come back safe, and Subaru swore not to do anything reckless. With that, they hugged.